This is the Centigraph adding machine. It was built in 1891 by Arthur Shattuck of San Francisco. He had been working on calculators as part of collaborations with other inventors for some years, but it wasn't until his fourth patent that he actually made the Centigraph. It was a simple collimator. This copy, the best available copy, is a bit hard to read. But other sources list Shattuck as submitting his patent 11 years before it was awarded. But clearly the copy is just poor. He submitted it in 1890. Shattuck really pulled off a marketing blitz with this one. Publicity is everywhere. Here's an 1890 ad showing it was going to be $12. The actual price was $15 when it was released. It was made by the Centigraph Company of New York, which seems strange as Shattuck never even left California. The Centigraph's fame made it all the way down under. There was only a couple years of ads and then it disappears. And then it picks back up again in 1903, this time by the American Adding Machine Company out of Atlanta. The Smithsonian has this device labeled as a Centigraph adder. The form certainly looks similar to Shattuck's, although he doesn't have a patent and there are no other sources for it, so it's a bit puzzling. Here's the Centigraph logo and serial number when the adding machine company took over. They left it mostly alone, but did add this spring cover on this arm. So the Centigraph has two counter-rotating discs. When you press 1 through 4, the back disc is released that many places. And when you press 5, the front disc is released 5 places. Now, something weird happens when you do that. The front disc rotates. This means that the accumulator also rotates, which means that sometimes the accumulator could be at weird angles or even upside down. So by pressing 5 and 1, you can release the front disc and the back disc at the same time and get 6. And this works in numbers 6 through 9. But since the two discs worked independently of each other, Shattuck could pull this off. Now to clear it, you rotate that dial in the middle. Now you can rotate directly on the discs, which is easier but not faster. Shattuck had envisioned a more stationary accumulator by adding a third disc connected to other discs with string, but that never took off. To increase the capacity over 99, Shattuck added a pointer arrow that could point up to 500. This introduced a little bit of a problem, or maybe it was just Shattuck's implementation, but when you get to higher numbers, for example, I'm going to go up to 199 here, and you'll see that it's pretty easy to confuse with 299 because the pointer isn't super exact. I guess that would be something you just got to get used to. The main drive clock spring is in the middle, kind of hidden underneath between the two discs. I haven't tightened mine super tight, so when it gets above 300, it starts fighting with that little arm spring down there, and mine becomes a little less reliable. I could tighten it up, but I don't want to. Winding it up, especially from higher numbers, can be a bit tedious. Henry Goldman criticized it, saying that winding it would be healthy recreation for an office boy. Little 1902 sarcasm. Here's the wooden base with the machine taken off. There's cutouts, room for some of the screws and things. I'll take the discs off here with a little headband so they don't spin all the way down. There's a little locking screw under there. And then once you get that little handle off, then it just slides right out. There is a spring in there, which I'm not going to show you because it was kind of tedious to get back in, but it just looks like a giant clock spring, very similar to this one. When you press keys 1 through 4, the key is a lever that lifts that little spring arm out of the way, retracting the pawl up there. Then that toothed arm will only allow the disc to advance so many places. The 5 key lets that little seesaw pawl advance the front disc 1 place. So here I'll test out the 1, which is a very small amount for that tooth to move. It's almost hard to see. But when you test the 4, press the 4, it's a farther amount. Here we can see the same thing from the back. So this type of machine is called a column adder because it can only functionally add one column at a time. And here's what that would look like. First I would add all the column on the right, totaling that number and writing it down. Then I would move on, after I cleared it here, I'd move on to the next column. And there's our answer, upside down. And we can write it here. You typically need a pen and paper for this type of setup. So that's the Centigraph adding machine. It seems there are about 3,000 made of them between the two companies. Probably not the success that Shattuck hoped for. Thanks for watching.